seminar presentation around optimism via pausing AI, or AGI, and especially superintelligence. This is the thing I definitely don't want to have. So, can I use the touch screen here? Nice. Okay, who am I and why do I have any mandate in this? So, I began reading about superintelligence like 10 years ago, and I didn't act. I didn't feel I was like clever enough to be able to affect the landscape. But I began reading up and I joined university, philosophy, mathematics, but my dream was to become a climate researcher. I thought that Anders Sandberg and Nick Bostrom, they're really cool, and I want to be working with them, but my timeline shrunk. So I updated towards shorter timelines, and I felt that, well, I don't have time to become a researcher myself, so I can do community building. So I did community building for a while. I set up a few orgs. The cool one is AI-Safety Collab. It has 800 people. And then maybe 9 months ago, I lost hope in us solving alignment in time at all. And then I transitioned, or like at all, before we had superintelligence. So my timeline shrunk, and then I joined Pulse AI, and now I'm the growth director. So my vision of the far future, and ideally we'll have these cool things ASAP. So I want to have something I really value is optionality. I think, we don't want to have any lock-in states, no totalitarianism, and I don't like surveillance, I like privacy. I want to colonize space. I want to kind of maximize happy minds and minimize unhappy minds, or the word I use here is healthy, and you can see there World Health Organizations. I think that this is a really cool definition. So they have, their definition for health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. I think that this is a really cool goal to have for kind of all sentiences in the universe, so this is something I'd like to push for. And ideally, I would really want us to determine our future, and I think that there is a hurdle in the way, which is unaligned superintelligence, or even aligned superintelligence. So let's push forward here. And by the way, I want you all to sit and think and raise your hand if you have any Chris, this is not reasonable. This, I don't agree on this, or here is a question. So feel free to, I want this to be as interactive as possible. I don't want to stand here and just rant about my models. I want you to speak up when you feel like it. So, yeah.
Can I ask a provocative question?
What question?
Okay, there's a statement of World Health Organization about humans, but humans is not only about biological body, it's about consciousness, mind. And we see the birth of artificial mind consciousness. Should we care about artificial intelligence, good state of physical, mental?
Yeah. What is physical well-being when it comes to AI? I do think that do you know who Janus is? He's he's interacting with AI systems, and to me it looks like it's more like there's someone there. It doesn't look like a tool for me, and if they are suffering, I would definitely care about that, but we don't know yet. But yeah, err on the side of caution if there is suffering in the picture, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, here this presentation is mainly exploring my core assumptions that has led me to believe that pausing is better than speeding ahead currently. So yeah, please, I don't want to believe in these core assumptions. Ideally, we could just speed ahead. So yeah. Jesus Christ, this is not working. Okay, core assumption 1. Superintelligence is not... Go ahead.
Maybe you're coming up to this later, but can we just roughly define ASI and AGI?
Sure. So you won't get a strict definition, but a vague definition is AGI is kind of on par with human intelligence, and it doesn't have weird failure modes such as like not being able to see two intersecting lines, which I recently saw that GPT-4 fails to do. So like no failure modes, and like super intelligence is like way better than all humans combined, probably. Like that rough ballpark. So yeah. And if someone has a better suggestion for like definition for superintelligence, like you can speak up. Okay, nice. So superintelligence is uncontrollable. I think that this is super intuitive, but why we would believe this is like, here's an intuition pump. Imagine that you're playing tic-tac-toe and you're battling an opponent that has like 200 IQ. Now, we can assume that you would probably lose all the time, but what if you get like 10,000 IQ? Would that be marginally different from playing someone with 200? Probably not, because the optimal moves are already like defined by the 200 IQ tic-tac-toe playing bot. And for chess, you can probably like benefit of having 500 IQ there, or like something like that. When it comes to Go, that's an even bigger tree, and then it benefits you. You can like squeeze out more optimal plays by having more intelligence. And for the world, that has like there's so many ways to be outplayed and like be circumvented. So it's just, yeah. I hope that this is intuitive. Yeah.
So I guess I would argue like one issue with that intuition pump is you've gone from like three perfect information games to an imperfect information game.
Yeah, yeah.
And so those games have like GTO solutions. It's not clear that the world does.
Yeah, yeah. So the world is not, we don't have perfect information about the world, but I do think that the metaphor generalizes anyway, because we have Lebradas, which is an AI poker bot. And that happened around the same time with AlphaGo, but there's like no news about this, which is pretty shocking to me, because this AI, it beat like all the best poker players in the world, like by far. And there is no like media about this. So yeah.
There's still a GDO strategy.
There's still
a game theoretic optimum strategy, which is independent of how the other players are playing. So you don't need to know, you don't need to make any assumptions about the other intelligences playing that game. You can just play a purely mathematical GTO strategy and always beat them.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, I would argue, is not true of the world, because you have models creating intelligent entities who are changing the rules of the game dynamically, which is not the case for any of the other things.
So would you say that disproves the superintelligence is uncontrollable?
I was just arguing against the intuition pump.
Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah, okay. And the Vingen reflection is roughly, why is this useful here? So the Vingen reflection states that you can't predict a stronger opponent's moves, because if you were as intelligent as this opponent, well, only then you can predict the moves, roughly. But since it's stronger, you can't make these predictions.
Well, in this case, there is a difference between intelligence and computational speed. Like, it's not like that the AGI in this case has more intuition, like can formulate better strategies, but it just can explore the space of the game quicker than we can.
Well, yeah. So if here's the crux of like, what is intelligence? And I would say it's just finding back-chaining from the goal state that you're looking for, and like finding the most effective routes there. So that's so like if that is intelligence in my book, then like then we can get into the question of like, would a giant lookup table that knows literally everything, would that be intelligence? And like, well, we would probably consider that knowledge, but still it would be better than you than in like achieving your goals. And that would, yeah, like that's roughly like capability in that sense, at least.
Like, is this assumption says that ASI is uncontrollable at all, or like it will never be controllable?
Yeah, I do think that there might be cases where it's controllable, but that is like when it's in a sandbox and there's like a huge like structure around it that makes it safe. But it's still super speculative for me. Like, what I like to add to this now when I'm thinking about it, like superintelligence is uncontrollable indefinitely. That is not possible. So like indefinitely, I would like to add that to the slide here. But maybe we can control it for a small bit of time. But then again, if we're like locking it down into a silo and like there's no one that can interact with it, then I would say it's like useless.
Like it's a pretty like vague assumption. Like we don't have ASI.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we saying we cannot build like fusion reactors safely.
Build what?
Fusion reactors.
Yeah.
Nuclear fusion reactors safely. Like we don't have like working like energy positive fusion reactors, and like we don't have safe fusion reactors neither.
What does this entail, or like where?
Like before like having an ASI and like knowing more about like how it works.
Yeah.
Like it is a big leap to say that like that thing we don't know anything about it at all will be uncontrollable indefinitely.
I think it does say that here, if this is true, right? We got two hands now. I do think we need to speed. I like to speed ahead, but let's take one last for this slide. And like, yeah, think of the biggest crux you have.
Yeah, like really sorry, like really fast.
Yeah.
Where we'll drop down these assumptions and try to fight them. So
Yeah.
I think it's not only like if assumption is true or not. It's about like if assumption like is needed. It's like what I have the analogy in mind is that controlling AGI is not necessary. So it's like with wife, for example. Like you don't want a wife that you control like 100% of the time, right? So it
Right.
used to be like in the past like that, but you need partner, like person, and it has its own needs. So we can change the, I think, and rename this assumption in terms of not controlling AI.
Yeah.
But,
I see where you're coming from, and like I would say yes, I agree. Given like this is great, if it's great for humanity, even if we can't control the superintelligence, but that's strict.
not harmful.
But that strictly depends on it's aligned, and we're getting there. So it's only good for humanity if it's aligned, I would say. Otherwise, it's probably bad. Or like if we can control it with like governance and so on. Okay, one last class. Okay.
No, yeah, I agree. I actually agree with this assumption. I think it probably is uncontrollable, but like humans are, you know, as you said, humans are pretty uncontrollable, especially their thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
physically you can lock in humans much more easily than you could lock in an ASI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the assumption, but also agree that it might not be necessary. But
Yeah, I think this is one of the, for me, this is one of the core puzzle pieces that if we take more puzzle pieces, then this is important. But let's speed ahead. Okay, this came out not too long ago, as you see, 3rd of May, 2024. So are we not on track on solving alignment? This has been my intuition going through this for the longest of time, and finally we have a study. So here we see, can you see my cursor? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so here we see DIAC. Okay, so here it says, current alignment research is on track to solve alignment before we get to AGI. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, so here it says 30%, a bit more, says strong disagree. And by the way, this is apparently representative, in my opinion. There isn't that many alignment researchers. And then we have somewhat disagree, and that's even more. Neutral, agnostic, somewhat agree, pretty tiny subset, less than 20%. Strongly agree, that's less than 5%. So yeah, this is like one major data point to take in, and I think the fact that it's kind of representative, it says something important. And by the way, any comments on this? Are you like surprised? Can we have a raise of hands by like surprised? Raise a hand. Okay, so nobody's surprised about this. Okay, nice.
It is a survey done on effective altruism
For alignment researchers and EAs.
I found the
So many alignment researchers are also EAs, and like there's a big overlap. So
Is there a prediction market on this?
I don't know, but I would love to see it. Yeah, if anyone could pull that up, I would be really happy to see it. And by the way, I wish we were on track on solving alignment. I would not. I'm not happy seeing this. This is just like confirming my intuition. Okay, core assumption 2: aligned superintelligence. It's still not good. Okay, so a thought experiment here. Imagine I have a magic wand. I poof into existence an aligned superintelligence, and now we could, imagine this is great. But I've come to believe that this is probably terrible. This is probably not that good. So we have like 2 cases. One case where we have, why would this come into existence? It's probably because people in power let this to come into existence. And so a small subset of humanity would, by that token, control the superintelligence. Right? Would that, so then we can think about, would that lead to a flourishing future? And I am very pessimistic about that. Something that comes up in my mind here is absolute power corrupts absolutely. We've seen this many times throughout history, and for it to go well, I do think that this is for us to get the flourishing future. I think it needs to be under democratic control. But as we'll see in the future slides, I do think that summoning superintelligence will be kind of detrimental to democracy for various reasons. So, okay, what else do we have here? By the way, any yeah?
What about open source AI and why someone should have absolute power?
Yeah.
Not a group of
Yeah.
small group, but still it seems like it goes more well with this distributed concept. There are many companies that tries to align, train,
Yeah.
there's competition between them.
Yeah.
What's the problem with this?
Yeah, so I've thought about that a lot too, and
It's similar like weapons, even BBS, for example, anyone can own it, use it. But
right.
it seems like
We also see a lot of
we don't have too many problems with the people overtaking government.
Yeah, I do believe in that model of no totalitarian regime. So we're gonna give the citizens guns. I do subscribe to that idea, because yeah. But we also see a lot of school shootings there. So I do believe if we get superintelligences to everyone, and we'll see this in a future slide. One of my future slides says roughly there's an imbalance between offense and defense in the world, and it's heavily towards offense. It's easier to burn than to build. But yeah, would I give superintelligences to everyone? Maybe if it has the highest level of alignment. So an intuition pump for this, there's different levels of alignment you can think of. And the highest level would be where humanity is the child of a mother, and the mother genuinely cares about the child. Humanity has no control anymore. A child doesn't have control over the mother, right? But the mother really cares about the child.
There's also father, by the way.
Sorry?
There's also father, by the way.
Father?
Father, not mother.
Yeah, there's more people in the picture. There can be a big family, but yeah. There's so that level of alignment, we're not even close.
I agree that ASI would benefit more to their builders, investors, adapters, and that is the case for all technologies. And technological development has been pretty good for humanity. So I don't
Yeah.
agree with this correct assumption at all.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I'm wrong in this, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll explore reasons for why this would lead to, say, loss of democracy and loss of power for the people. So I do believe the people, needs to be empowered in comparison, and if we yeah, so there's like a slippery slope of less and less democracy. Okay, moving forward. Core assumption 3, the offense-defense imbalance. Now we're getting to this intuition pump. So Rome was built, I don't know, it took a long time, but it kind of burnt, not in a day, but in a much smaller amount of time. And I do think that this generalizes across the world. So we have a few examples here that we can explore, and it's like first, manipulation. I do think it's very, very hard and probably not possible to protect against manipulation. Nuclear war, that's an obvious one. Pandemics, we saw that with COVID. It took years to synthesize this, now I lost the word, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Cyber, nanotech, more speculative, but it holds stronger there also. Like, it's hard to set up an immune system for Earth that would protect against, say, grey goo. It's a hypothetical technology. So like, it's the imbalance here is very obvious when we think about big scales and like great severity. I think it's very obvious. But I want to be fucking wrong about this. This post was my most influential read, 2023. I cried twice when I read this. If you want to have a difficult time, then I recommend reading this. It's don't read it to your kids before you go to bed. By the way, any thoughts, comments on this? There's like unanimous agreement that there is this imbalance in the world, or there's no one that disagrees with this? Yep, okay. Unanimous alignment, great.
Sure, but I think that AGIs can also help to balance the world. I mean, like, in terms of like, there is like this manipulation thing, there is a counterpart, because AGIs can help people understand each other, I mean, in terms of like,
yeah.
So there are odds both on the side of like imbalance and on the side of like making the world a better place.
Yeah. So let's think about, say, nuclear war. To set up a defense around nuclear war, that would take probably decades, and say social manipulation that would lead, decision makers that would actually push the button on nuclear war. Imagine we take a bottom-up and a top-down approach on manipulation. Say, I don't know, it's very hard to defend against manipulation, and also very hard to set up the literal physical infrastructure that would let us shoot out the missiles from the sky. And then we have, bunkers. It's just easier to blow up stuff than to protect against being blown up. I really recommend reading this one. It's really good. It's a really good analysis on the case. Like, I was really hopeful that, like, yeah, we can build AGI. Before I read this, we can build AGI to defend ourselves, right? I mean, this is the zeitgeist. And then, like, fuck me. Yeah. Okay. By the way, does anyone have track of time? Yash, how much do we got?
We have like 10 more.
10 more, Jesus. Okay, we gotta speed run this. Aligned superintelligence, loss of democracy. So loss of jobs. So what are the mechanisms here? Why would I believe that like loss of jobs is like bad? So I was a UBI believer for a long time, and I was like, I don't like to do boring jobs. I just want to have money and have freedom, I thought that was good. And then I talked to a friend, and he said, let's go through this list. So there are strong incentives to just strong financial incentives for people to lose their jobs. I think that's a pretty obvious one. It's probably irreversible because there is this mechanism. People will lose their bargaining power to some degree, or to a high degree, if society does not depend on them. So there's an example where there's people that drove elevators, literally like elevator like drivers. They wanted they wanted a raise, so they went out and protested on the streets, and guess what? People automated their jobs, so like they lost their bargaining power. If this happens for literally everyone, then yeah, like it doesn't matter if you go out and protest on the streets as much. But we'll still have our voting power, but like democracy is not that strong anyway, so.
Yeah, well, what I wanted to say and emphasize that it's not proven that AGI has some sort of the personality that stays behind and acts in its own interests, right? And in this case, this is not quite like totalitarian state, and maybe this will be something new form of governance, because there will be like no like human leader, but there is like some machine that is acting based on the data that yeah, and also there is like no such thing as like complete democracy as well. And but returning back to the thing, don't you think that this will be like a new form of government, and it's not necessarily bad?
AGI-led governments?
Yeah.
If we had alignment, yes. Like if we had high level of alignment, then great. Like give our keys to the kingdom to the less biased ones, right? I have to move forward because otherwise we won't have time at all. Aligned superintelligence, amplified surveillance. And what are the mechanisms? So again, who controls the superintelligence? Well, probably not the people. And why would we want to have surveillance, or like why would they want to have surveillance? Well, more control. Control is good. Everyone wants to have control. And advertising, so money. Any quick comments or like? No? Okay. Recursive self-improvement. One of my assumptions that I would love to be disproven on is that AGI could lead to superintelligence pretty fast. So what are the mechanisms? You know, with intelligence, you can get more intelligence, and then you can get more intelligence, and you can find ways to find ways, you know. So this is a, where's my mouse? Here. Examples of AI improving AI. This is, here they collect cases on where AI improves AI, like it's a good website. So how much time do I have, Yash? I just got 8 minutes. Okay, let's speed run. Like make a bookmark in your head if you want to return to this. Okay, super alignment is absurdly hard. So I would like to see a raise of hands. How many have spent more than, say, five hours reading up on alignment? Half. All right. So it's not obvious if you haven't dived into like what actually alignment is, but it is to have the AI has similar values and not just understand what you want, but value what you want. We can make a thought experiment here. Imagine that you're a biologist and you're studying an anthill, and you want to learn about ant culture and values and everything. Like, you're super intelligent to them, but you don't give a shit about their values because you don't care about what they care about. So if this generalizes in a strong sense, which conceptually it makes sense to me, then we need to make the AI value what we value. Otherwise, if it just, like for example, GPT-4 has great theory of mind. It understands the world greatly, but just doesn't really care.
So yeah, I haven't read up much on alignment, but how do we have any understanding of how hard alignment of ASI or AGI will be if we have absolutely no idea how to build ASI or AGI, or what ASI or AGI even is?
Yeah.
We're nowhere close to building it. And analogies to like GPT-4, it might as well be an analogy to like linear regression. Like they're just, I would just argue it's nowhere close to like what we're going to need to build ASI.
Yeah.
How can we say anything about this?
Yeah, I hope you're right on the timelines. I hope you were more time, like you're saying. What was the question? So if we haven't built superintelligence, we can't know what.
If we don't even know how to build it.
Right.
How can we claim alignment is easy or hard?
Yeah. So you would have some intuition about how hard alignment is. So like what is alignment? Alignment is coming up with the training paradigm so that your values gets embodied into the neural net that acts in the world. And what are your values even? Could you describe those? So would we have an AI system that would look at your actions and then extrapolate of what your values are? I would say that's very hard.
How do we align children?
So children, yeah, this is an interesting thing to explore. So children, they're already aligned because they have the architecture of humans. But then they need some fine tuning, you know. They need to be they need to be told what to do, what they can't do, you know. But an interesting or like an important distinction is empathy. So AIs, we are evolved to care about other people in our tribe. This is kind of an important goal for us that has enabled us to survive. Like imagine if you have two tribes. One tribe, people care about each other. Like when someone is in a bad spot, they get some help. And in the other tribe, this is not true. So like what tribe survives and flourishes? Well, it's the first one. So empathy is not something that naturally comes into existence when we're thinking about backchaining from goals or just like being intelligent about how to solving problems. Like, do you see, is that kind of intuitive?
Maybe. Extremely autistic people have basically no empathy and they're not evil. Empathy might be useful, but I don't think it's necessary.
I do think if they are that, if they don't have any empathy, I don't think that they are actually functioning. And probably most of the time they do like really terrible things to other sentient entities and people, and they get locked up. Like most psychopaths, you don't see them because they're probably locked up. Yeah.
What's the problem with empathy? You said that GPT-4 has a sphere of mind.
Yeah.
Clearly, and I think it has a form of empathy. Okay, it is based on textual information, and some we can communicate with words, but it's still empathy, right? It can describe empathetically what's going on. If you like prompt a situation, it can describe.
Yeah.
Although, because it was trained on examples that humans provided,
Yeah.
it understands something, right? So it can be aligned to anything else, but
Yeah.
at the moment, like GPT-4 and all other publicly available, they have some sort of empathy.
Yeah, I hope that's true, but to me it looks like they rather just understand. So here's the metaphor of the biologist studying the anthill again. So if you're a biologist, you already have your values. You don't care about ants' values, even though you understand ants' values. It's like understanding versus valuing. And yeah, currently there is GPT-4 understands really well, but does it value it? And I would say no. And how would we verify?
Depends on the training set, right?
So it would have to absorb the values from the text by understanding the text. That would basically be the case, right?
I think like these values can be trained by these chef and other techniques after we have trained it.
Yeah.
We can learn certain values, or we can prompt them. We can add them in the system prompt. What is acceptable is not, and go follow.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it just
I wish that RLHF was something that actually worked, but if it did, it would generalize across new languages, and you wouldn't be able to jailbreak it.
anyone can easily override those, right?
Yeah.
Anyone can define their own values, like killing all the people.
Yeah. So like if I
values as well.
here's an intuition pump. If I spoke to you, if you had your values, and I spoke to you in another language, and you understood that language, but you went and helped me to build a bomb and kill children, I would call you not aligned, right? But we have to move on. But make a bookmark in your 5 minutes. Oh my God.
We're already at the mark right now.
Uh oh. Yeah. Okay. We don't have so much more. Okay. What happens if we pause AGI research? You might ask, I assume. And we will get more time to solve alignment and governance. And then like a counterpoint to like solving alignment, you might say, well, we need to have superintelligence to be able to experiment and see if our alignment actually works. If you hold this belief, then Google treacherous turn. Treacherous turn, Google this. Okay, would it lead to a global totalitarian government, or would it lead to like loss of democracy by having, locking down technologies? And like, no, we have de-accelerated lots of technologies, and you can see the examples here. For example, fun fact, Sweden was 6 months from having a nuclear program. Like there was many countries that almost had nuclear power programs, but there was a lot of hardworking people that tried to reduce this basically, and we can do the same. We can mitigate the harms here. So how difficult is it to actually pause AGI research? I do think that this is pretty damn hard, because we don't have the evidence that like this is actually societal scale risks. People don't understand that, well, this is actually an X risk, because they have to understand these arguments for why it is.
It's correct that those technologies were accelerated because they didn't seem like they have much immediate economic value, and AI is currently a hot business sector.
Oh yeah, that's something that makes it even more difficult. But I think it kind of generalizes to making money, that's a big proxy. So like having more, AGI is really, really cool and fancy, but at the end of the day, it will generate money for you. And for example, Montreal Protocol, CFCs, that really helped people making a lot of money, but still we banned CFCs. That's a thing that almost made the ozone layer disappear altogether. But we acted in time. All right, you had a question also, or something? Yeah.
Would you argue that the current generation of scaling up GPT and Llama and so on is AGI research?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's general. It's not narrow.
And then, this ignores all the negatives reporting, right? So obviously that research is going to help us solve some of the biggest problems in the world, which are killing billions of people, right?
Yeah.
And aging and disease and pandemics and so on. And so you kind of have to balance that against.
Yeah, I do think that there are a lot of problems that we can fix with AGI, but it assumes that it is aligned. That is the crux. Sorry?
We're not at AGI yet, right?
We're this close. We're really this close.
I would disagree with that. But if we're not, then pausing now versus pausing in 3 years makes a huge difference, right? In 3 years we could save billions and billions of lives. If we pause too early, all those people are going to die, and there's zero benefit.
Yeah.
So you kind of it is really important to have consensus on how close actually are we to AGI, where it matters whether this thing is misaligned or not.
Yeah, I do feel that pain for sure. This is something that I feel is on my shoulders too. The thing is, a useful metaphor is that we're racing potentially towards a cliff. And by racing, we are saving these people. But we don't know where the cliff is. We have no clue, because we don't have perfect foresight. So let's say that we accelerated 1 more year, and then for some arbitrary reason, we paused. I would say fuck, I would really want to do that, because like you're saying, there's billions of lives on the line here, and we could do so much good with it before AGI, but we don't know where it is. And that's why I would err on the side of slowing down earlier rather than later. Because recursive self-improvement, that's one of the examples. Yeah. All right, want to learn more? Here are some links that are pretty relevant to you, to this audience, I believe. So have a look at this, and then Twitter, Pulse AI, and me. And also, please give me a poke in person if you'd like to know more. Thank you.